kind of conscious that we've had a lot of information, I suppose, presented to us today. And when I originally looked at this, I was going to try and summarize maybe some of the main points. But on reflection, I felt that maybe a resource or tool might be more effective. So kind of a reference point. And we're always trying to build, I suppose, our library of resources here with the ETC network. So rather than kind of going over all the programs again, what I'm going to do is present a tool or a resource that I'm working on at the moment. So Catherine, if you don't mind just going to the next slide, thanks. So maybe just to remind ourselves what programs we discussed today. So, and I know they all fall under the Interreg program, and that's our focus for today. So you've got Interreg Europe, if we discuss the Interreg Atlantic area, the Northern Periphery and Arctic, we had the Northwest Europe, and then we had the URBACT and the ESPON programs. So quite a wide suite and a varied suite of programs there. But again, a lot of kind of complementarities and a lot of I suppose differentiations as well in terms of, I suppose, maybe how they suit and who they suit and what types of projects they will finance. So I suppose looking at them as maybe either prospective projects or practicing project officers, I suppose what we really want to do is try and determine which program will best suit the objectives that we're trying to achieve with our project. And with that in mind, I kind of try to focus in on maybe the more specific questions that we would need to ask that would try and determine that for us and would kind of navigate us to the right program that would suit the needs that we have. So Catherine, we just go to the next slide there. And maybe I'll just say before I start this that these are not finite. They're open to any suggestions. These are just the ones that I had kind of identified initially. So again, if anybody has any suggestions or additions that they want to make to this, please feel free to email or put them into the chat or question function today. So there's kind of 15 areas that I identified. So the first being the overall aim of the program. So what is that particular program trying to achieve? Maybe what's the main project output? So we heard today Interreg Europe may or may not have an action plan depending on what stage you can achieve your policy influence. But again, just to bear that in mind, that if you go into the 4th year without your policy influence, you will have to do an action plan. ESPON spoke about your thematic action plans. Under URBACT, you had your local innovation groups. You know, there's different outputs for each program. So again, just to make sure that that method of work would suit you. Again, we know some of the programs is very onerous reporting requirements and some are less onerous. So again, another, I suppose when you're setting out work programs, another thing that you need to bear in mind, are they 6 monthly, are they annual? So again, just we'll try and isolate that and let you know what the reporting requirements are and the frequency of it. Co-financing rate, obviously very, very important. They can range from 60% up to 80%. So again, it needs to be mindful of that. What counties or areas in Ireland are going to be eligible for each program? Now I know as we learned, even where it states a particular county, there are options maybe to neighbouring counties, but again, just to be aware of that and I suppose what the criteria for that is. The other countries across Europe that are eligible. So again, if you're looking for maybe to partner up with a very similar type region, again, you'd need to know what the regions are and what the makeups are. So again, to be aware of who's eligible within the programs. What organisations are eligible to apply? Are you actually going to be eligible to apply to that particular program? Looking at the composition of the partnerships, what are the requirements of the partnerships? Some require a managing authority, some might require local authorities, some are research folks, as we heard from ESPON. So again, just to know what the requirements are. The work method, so some are about maybe learning from other countries, and it's all about taking the learnings on board. Some are very action focused, some are more around the networking. So again, does the work method suit your project and how you work at the moment? Each of the programs can direct you on their website to where you can source potential partners. So again, we'll put that in there for you. The application process. So again, sometimes the length of time around the application process can have an impact. So we heard today on Northwest Europe that there's a 2-step process. So you may do your light touch application initially and you get through, but then there's another process to go through. So chances are if you're successful, you may not be starting your project until this time next year. So again, just be mindful of maybe start dates and what the final application date is, or the the end of the application process. The average amount for each project, so this can vary between the programs and again even between the projects and between the thematic areas. And again, when we put this in, just to note that it is average, so it's not necessarily indicative of what you get, but it might give you kind of a ballpark figure as to what it will be. The overall thematic objectives, and then the average project time allocation. So again, some run to 3 years, some run to 5. So again, just to be mindful maybe in terms of your work plans again, where and how that would fit into your overall work plans. And like I said, these are not finite, very much open to suggestions. And I'll maybe just give you a sample of maybe what the overall the tool will look like. So Catherine, if you don't mind just going to the next slide. So again, all it is just listing the programs and those questions, but it allows you to see at a glance what the specific areas or questions that you may have. So just as a sample, like the aim of the program, say for example, Interreg Europe is all about improving regional policy. We just heard from SVON that it's more tailored towards research and trying to match research to specific challenges here in the country. Atlantic areas, more under land-sea interactions, urban very much to your kind of common urban problems. So again, they all have their specific focus and aim. Co-financing rate, again, at a glance, you can see there are huge differences between, say, Northwest Europe is 60 and then up to 80 in terms of Interreg Europe. So what we'll do is we'll list all the questions and we'll address an answer under each of those specific programs. So again, if there's any other areas that you're thinking of that you would like us to put forward, please let us know. Just the next slide there, Catherine, if you mind. So how we'll do it is we will hopefully be able to send this out to you. I'll try and finish this next week. We'll just want to fact check with the contact points after hearing from everybody today, see if there's anything else that they feel would be worth adding to it. We'll try and get that out next week. And then once the program manuals are finalised, we will take another opportunity to look through those and update. So you will have another opportunity at that time then to try and add any of the particular areas, maybe on reflection after today or looking at the program manuals. So again, I would stress you would need to either contact me